Imagine you are a god, not a minor one, a titan, ancient, pre-Olympian. Your name means forethought. You have just outwitted the king of the gods at his own banquet, and now watching mortals shiver in the dark below Olympus, cold, helpless, dying, you reach down and break off a stalk of fennel from the earth. Common fennel, the kind that grows by every road. You push a coal of divine fire into its hollow center and walk away. The most important theft in the history of Western mythology was committed with a weed, and for it, a god would be chained to a mountain and have his liver eaten every single day for longer than human civilization has existed. This is the story of Prometheus, and almost everything you think you know about it is wrong. To understand why Prometheus matters, you need to understand when he appears in the written record. Our oldest surviving account comes from Hesiod, a Greek poet working around 700 BCE, roughly contemporary with Homer. Hesiod was not writing entertainment. He was writing what his culture understood as cosmological fact, the history of the gods as handed down by the muses themselves. In his poem, the Theogony, the genesis of Greek religion, Hesiod tells us precisely where Prometheus comes from. Iapetus, he writes, took to wife the neat-ankled maid Clymene, daughter of Ocean, and went up with her into one bed. And she bare him a stout-hearted son Atlas, and clever Prometheus, full of various wiles. That is Hesiod's Theogony, line 507. Prometheus is the son of the Titan Iapetus. His brothers are Atlas, who will hold up the sky, and the scatter-brained Epimetheus, whose name means afterthought, the perfect foil to Prometheus's forethought. This is crucial in Hesiod's version, the earliest version. Prometheus is not humanity's creator. He does not sculpt men from clay. That story doesn't appear until Apollodorus writes his library in the 2nd century CE, roughly 900 years after Hesiod. We will return to that. In Hesiod's world, Prometheus is a titan who has survived the Titanomachy, the war between the old gods and Zeus's, and he is about to cause the biggest political crisis the cosmos has ever seen. Before the fire, before the chains, before Pandora, there was a dinner party that changed everything. Hesiod opens the story not with fire but with meat. In the Theogony, line 535, he tells us that when gods and mortal men had a dispute at Mecone, this ancient place in the Greek peninsula, Prometheus stepped forward to play sacrifice divider. He took a great ox, slaughtered it, and divided it into 2 piles. The first pile, the meat and the rich inner organs, everything good, wrapped up inside the animal's stomach so that it looked like a lumpy, unappetizing mass of guts. The second pile, the white bones, utterly inedible, but dressed up with gleaming fat until they looked magnificent. Prometheus then invited Zeus to choose which portion his gods would receive. Now here is what Hesiod tells us next, and this is where the myth gets genuinely strange. Zeus saw through the trick immediately. Hesiod is explicit. Zeus, whose wisdom is everlasting, saw and failed not to perceive the trick. Zeus knew. He looked at the dazzling white bones under shining fat and understood exactly what Prometheus had done. And he chose the bones anyway. Think about what this means. Zeus, the all-knowing king of the cosmos, was offered a choice between a trick and the truth, and he deliberately chose the trick. Why? Hesiod gives us the answer. In his heart he thought mischief against mortal men, which also was to be fulfilled. Zeus chose the bones because it gave him. If he could point to Prometheus's deception, he could now withhold fire from humanity with cause, and then send something far worse. The god of justice set up humanity to fail. From that day forward, Hesiod tells us, men burn the white bones of animals on the altars of the gods. Every sacrifice in ancient Greece was, in the original telling, a monument to a con game that Zeus had willingly walked into. This is the structural genius of the myth. Prometheus cheated Zeus. Zeus cheated Prometheus. And humanity is caught in the middle of an infinite game of divine retribution. Zeus's first move, withhold fire from humanity. Hesiod gives us this in both the Theogony and his later poem, Works and Days, two separate tellings, which means this detail is as bedrock as the myth gets. He hid fire, Hesiod writes in Works and Days, line 47, but that the noble son of Iapetus stole again for men from Zeus, the counselor, in a hollow fennel stalk, so that Zeus, who delights in thunder, did not see it. A hollow fennel stalk. The Greek word is narthex, the same word used for the entrance hall of a church, because early churches were often built in a basilica style with a long entrance passage. The fennel plant has a tall, hollow, pithy stalk that burns very slowly from the inside without visible flame. You could carry a live coal inside it for hours without detection. Prometheus didn't raid Olympus. He didn't wrestle a thunderbolt from Zeus. He put a coal in a plant stalk and walked away. The cunning is the point. His name means forethought. He planned every step while the all-seeing god of the sky didn't notice a man holding a smoking weed. And now Zeus responds. In Works and Days, line 54, Hesiod gives us Zeus's words directly. And there is something chilling about them, son of Iapetus, surpassing all in cunning. You are glad that you have outwitted me and stolen fire, a great plague to you yourself and to men that shall be. He laughs. Zeus laughed when he said this. Hesiod is explicit. So said the father of men and gods, and laughed aloud. The god of thunder was already calculating his response before he even finished speaking. Zeus's revenge against humanity was not crude violence. It was a gift. In Works and Days, line 60, Hesiod describes what happens next with almost horrifying precision. He bade famous Hephaestus make haste and mix earth with water, and to put in it the voice and strength of humankind, and fashion a sweet, lovely maiden shape, like to the immortal goddesses in face. Each Olympian, Athena taught her needlework and weaving. Aphrodite shed grace and cruel longing over her head. Hermes, messenger of the gods, was given the most important task of all, to put in her a shameless mind and a deceitful nature. The gods called her Pandora, all gifted, because every Olympian had given her something, and Zeus sent her as a present to Prometheus's brother Epimetheus. Prometheus had warned his brother, explicitly warned him, never to accept a gift from Zeus. Never. No matter how beautiful. Epimetheus accepted her immediately. Now, and this is where the modern version betrays the ancient text. What Pandora opened was not a box. Hesiod's Greek word is pithos, a large ceramic storage jar. The kind used to store grain, oil, or wine, something the size of a person. The kind of vessel Greeks buried their dead in. The word box comes from Erasmus of Rotterdam in approximately 1508 CE. 800 years after the fall of Rome, 2,000 years after Hesiod wrote the myth. The jar matters because it tells you about ancient storage, these vast sealed amphorae that held the things families most feared to lose or to release, Hesiod tells us. For ere this, the tribes of men lived on earth remote and free from ills and hard toil and heavy sickness, which bring the fates upon men. And then Pandora opened the jar. But the woman took off the great lid of the jar with her hands and scattered all these, and her thought caused sorrow and mischief to men. Disease, old age, grief, war. Countless plagues, Hesiod says they wander amongst men, even now, invisible, striking silently because wise Zeus took away their voice. And then the line that changes everything. Only hope remained there in an unbreakable home within under the rim of the great jar. Hope alone stayed behind. Ancient scholars debated what this means. Is hope a blessing that stayed inside, protecting humanity? Or is hope another curse, a deception that keeps people striving when they should know better? Hesiod gives us no answer. He lets it sit, closed inside the jar for eternity. What happened to Prometheus himself was not quick. Hesiod's Theogony, line 521, And ready-witted Prometheus he bound with inextricable bonds, cruel chains, and drove a shaft through his middle, and set on him a long-winged eagle, which used to eat his immortal liver. Note that in Hesiod's telling, Prometheus is bound to a stake or pillar, the Greek skeptron, a shaft driven through his body, not, as later tradition would have it, to a cliff face. That visual comes later. Note also what the eagle ate, the liver. To ancient Greeks, the liver was not merely an organ. It was the seat of life and prophetic knowledge. The liver was what diviners read when they sacrificed animals. Its color, its shape, its markings revealed the future. Zeus struck directly at what Prometheus most fundamentally was, a being of foresight, of future knowledge. Every day the eagle descended. Every night the liver grew back, perfect and whole, as only an immortal's could. And then morning came again. Prometheus could not die. That was the punishment. An immortal body given to a mortal wound, repeated without end. How long did this last? Hesiod. The word he uses implies very long. Ages, not years. Some ancient commentators calculated thousands of years. The earlier Aeschylus tradition, which we will address in a moment, suggests the release doesn't come until 13 generations of Zeus's reign have passed. The Aeschylean plays were written roughly 260 years after Hesiod, and they are extraordinary literature. But they are a later tradition, and they change the myth significantly. The liberation, in Hesiod's account, is almost matter of fact. Theogony, line 526, that bird, Heracles, the valiant son of shapely-ankled Alcmena, slew and delivered the son of Iapetus from the cruel plague and released him from his affliction, not without the will of Olympian Zeus who reigns on high, that the glory of Heracles the Theban-born might be yet greater than it was before over the plenteous earth. This is important. Zeus permitted the liberation. He did not oppose it. There are two ways to read this. 1. Zeus's wrath had eventually run its course, and releasing Prometheus through his own hero son Heracles was a way to honor both his anger and his reconciliation. 2. And this reading is supported by later Aeschylean tradition. Prometheus held a secret that Zeus needed: the fate of the Titaness Thetis' future son, who would be mightier than his father. If Zeus married Thetis, that son would overthrow him, exactly as he had overthrown Cronus. Only Prometheus knew this. His silence was leverage. His release and Thetis' marriage to a mortal, the hero Peleus, which eventually produced Achilles, resolved the cosmic succession crisis. But Hesiod himself does not tell us this. In Hesiod, Zeus simply relents. What changes between Hesiod's telling and Aeschylus's, written perhaps 260 years later, is the character of Prometheus entirely. In Hesiod, Prometheus is a cunning titan, a trickster. He outwits Zeus twice and pays a catastrophic price for it. He is not a saint. He is not civilization's founder. He is a brilliant, reckless schemer whose love for humanity drives him to overstep the new order. In Aeschylus's Prometheus Bound, written around 460 BCE, almost certainly by a playwright influenced by the political democracies of Athens, Prometheus becomes something far more elevated, the father of civilization itself. He gives humanity not just fire but mathematics, writing, astronomy, agriculture, navigation, medicine, prophecy. He claims to have sided with Zeus against the Titans originally, only to be betrayed by the same god he helped into power. It is impossible to read Aeschylus without seeing Athenian democratic politics reflected in the myth, the brilliant individual crushed by tyrannical authority, never breaking, never surrendering his knowledge. Both traditions are extraordinary. They are not the same tradition. And Hesiod came first. What does the fire actually mean? This sounds like a simple question. But in Hesiod's world, fire is the boundary line between the animal and the human. Without fire, men eat raw flesh in the dark, cannot smelt metal, cannot fire pottery, cannot create the tools of civilization or sacrifice. Fire is not one technology among many. It is the prerequisite for every other. When Zeus withheld it, he was not denying a luxury. He was denying humanity any future. And Prometheus, whose name means forethought, saw forward, as he always did, and understood what the absence of fire would mean. He put a coal in a weed, and the world changed. That image, a god reduced to a botanical trick to smuggle the most powerful force on earth past the all-seeing king of the cosmos, is the entire myth in miniature. Power does not always look powerful. Forethought, sometimes the most consequential things on earth are carried in the hollow of what looks like trash. Prometheus was eventually freed. Fire stayed with humanity. Pandora's jar was opened, and neither the plagues nor hope would ever go back in. In Hesiod's universe, this is not a story of triumph. It is a story of cosmic trade-offs, the gods in balance against each other, with humanity perpetually caught in the space between divine cunning and divine wrath. But hope stayed behind. Hesiod made sure of that. This has been Pantheon X. If you want to go deeper, the Aeschylus Prometheus bound is available in full translation. We've linked Smith's text at theoi.com in the description. Read Hesiod first, then read what Aeschylus did with it. The difference between those two texts is 260 years of civilization's reflection on what it means to steal fire. We'll see you in the next myth.